Hello, my name is Tyler Mitchell. I have a Canik mc9. If you're having issues with lockback, failure to feed, out of battery issues, watch this video. This is everything that I've done to the gun that's helped me get past that, and I believe I just figured it out. So stay tuned. So I'm going to address a few issues, and then I'm also going to take it out to the range and do a couple test shots just to show you guys what's going on and what's going wrong with my grip. And that's a main issue. So, all right. So first thing is, let's break down the gun. There's these two tabs here. Your gun can't be cocked, so clear it. Make sure it's clear, and pull the trigger. Pull down on these two tabs. Push the barrel forward, and we'll start with the slide area. The first thing that I addressed, if you take out your spring here, some people, I don't know if you can see this, there's not much light in here, the tip of the spring here is basically too long, and what it's doing is it's coming past here, and when you fire, it actually can jump past the back here where it's supposed to be. So what you can do is you can take some snips and just take off that spring, snip it just slightly. There's some videos online, I might link them in the description if you want to see how they do that. That was not my issue. Another thing that people always say is the feed ramp is really steep on these. You need to have the feed ramp polished. I don't believe that's, personally I don't see that as a fix for my gun, because yes, I clean my gun every time I shoot it, and no, I don't want to have to if I needed to. So if this is not polished and clean, that should not be the problem that you're having. The next thing I did is the firing pin spring inside here. Again, I'll link the video below, but you have to take out, let's see, can I get this to focus? You have to take out this guy here, you push it in, and you're able to get the ejector and your recoil spring, sorry, not your recoil spring, your firing pin spring out. And there is a firing pin spring out there that you can swap it for, that I swapped it for. It's a little bit lighter. It helps the slide cycle on a lower grain bullet, and that brings me to the first issue that I found fixed. Well, the first thing that fixed my issue. It is 115 grain laser brass is what I've been shooting. It's not the best. It's just a cheap practice round. I went up to 124 grain laser brass. Still a cheap round, but that is what these guns are made to shoot at. That's my first suggestion. If you are having out of battery issues, switch what you're shooting. Go up to 124 grain, maybe even a little heavier, or a like a Winchester or something, a little bit better brand and a heavier grain. So that's the first fix as far as the out of battery issues. Now, once I've done that, I've had zero failure to feed issues. Sorry, the bugs. So I've had zero failure to feed issues, and then the other issue that I was having is no lockback on the last shot. So that could be one of two or three things. A, it could be your magazine. The magazine spring, I actually took apart my magazine. I stretched the spring to try to see if I knew that wasn't going to be a permanent fix, but I did. I stretched the spring in the magazine. You can take that off really easily. There's a button on the bottom of this. You push the button and you slide the cap off. You can take that out. I stretched the spring slightly just to add a little bit more pressure to see if that was the issue, if it wasn't popping up all the way after the last shot, and engaging the lockback lever here, which is right here. So what that does is, on your last shot, if you don't know, your last shot cycles, and then that lockback spring gets pushed up by the spring in your magazine. My issue with this, which is very important, the most important thing that I suggest you try, on a small handgun like this is your grip. This was suggested to me by one of my friends, and it fixed it. So I was trying all those things with the magazine spring. It was too inconsistent. Sometimes it would lock back, sometimes it wasn't. If this sounds like your gun, try it out, because I'm relatively new. I'm not claiming to be an expert, and I think that's why the inconsistency was there, because my grip on the gun needs to be underneath the lockback spring. If it is how I was shooting, where I was really clamping down, I had a really good comfortable grip on the gun, and I was stopping the recoil with my thumbs, right? But I'm on top of that recoil spring, or lockback spring, sorry. So your thumb needs to be underneath that, which you can still get a really comfortable grip on the gun. I have fairly large hands, and this still works. I would say that's, at least for people with larger hands, that is probably your issue, if it's not locking back. If it's not that, try some stuff with your magazine. If the grip doesn't fix it, the next thing I was going to try with the magazine is actually to put a shim in there, because when you take it out, there's a base plate that the spring is on, and my thought was to actually take a plastic shim and shim it so it's putting more pressure on the spring. Again, these are all modifications that I didn't feel like bringing my gun and sending it to Canik. I felt like fixing it myself. I'll link the descriptions down below of the people who talk about the different power factors and why you need to shoot a heavier grain bullet. But I believe that'll fix a lot of people's issues. So we're out here on a beautiful New Hampshire day. A little bit rainy, but what I suggest to do for this test is, so I have an empty magazine here, and what happens is when this gets empty, this little nub here pushes up on an internal mechanism in the slide that locks it back on the last shot. You can't really see it. It's down on this side, but if this tab wasn't all the way up, meaning if there was another bullet in your magazine, it wouldn't lock back. Now, that's why I was thinking it could be a magazine spring issue with the back. Now, you need to do this with the empty magazine in, or else it will lock back. But rack it, throw one bullet in, and then close the gun. That lever there, if it's covered, it will not cycle. So we'll take one shot, and it didn't cycle. The gun is empty with the empty magazine, which just locked back when I pulled it, but with my thumb covering that spring, it does not lock back. So we're going to take one more bullet. We're going to do the same thing again, just for proof of concept. No lock back, right? Because I'm physically not allowing that spring to go up. Now, we'll do one with my new grip. So I'm going to put my grip underneath that spring. Full lock back. Let's do it again. The gun's locking back now. So, if that's your issue, good for you. You just fixed it. You really got to practice that grip and make sure that you're underneath that spring. But that's all I have, so thank you.